All right, welcome in. Sports Untapped. Stephen A. Norman. Mitchell, okay, Mitchy Poppy, as apparently he likes to go by now, which is fine. That's fine. I'm still going to have to get used to it. We have a lot to get into tonight. What we're going to talk about mainly here in this episode is going to be week one of the preseason, game number one of the preseason for the Patriots. What we saw from that game Friday night against the Commanders. We'll touch on some guys that stood out to us, some guys that maybe lost a little ground as the Patriots continue to work through training camp here and look to get down to that 53-man roster that ultimately is coming here in the coming weeks. Before I do that, make sure to engage with the program. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon that notifies you of new content. You can leave a comment there. Today, we have plenty to get to, okay? Plenty to get to, Mitchell. I thought that there were some telling signs coming out of Friday night. My takeaway that I would say that I'll start with is it's hard to assess a team playing against backups to backups. Washington rested 30 players the other night, mostly starters, veterans, and really you got a good look at Washington's backups. So I take everything with a grain of salt that I saw on Friday night in preseason game number one, because it's hard to really evaluate, starters playing against backups. You see the starting offense out there for two drives, ultimately about 14 plays, I think it was, for that starting group. But Mitchell, my takeaway here is the Patriots have established or are in the midst of establishing an identity which mirrors Mike Vrabel to a T. Okay, a physical brand of football, but yet disciplined, which I think stood out from the other night. You look at how guys finished runs, the physicality, really just how guys were excited. They're jumping around. They were very physical on both sides of the football, but really it stood out on the offensive side of the football, whether it be Will Campbell finishing blocks 9 yards down the field, Travion Henderson
Mhm.
lowering his shoulder and bringing the boom to the defensive players. Ramondre Stevenson the same, Antonio Gibson. So I think what we saw was, again, a physical football team that is cleaning up some of the mistakes from a year ago where it was constant, penalties, stupid penalties, problems lining up, false starts, all of that stuff. And I think that you're getting a team that looks like they're bought into Mike Vrabel, bought into the culture, bought into his message.
Yeah, those like blocks down the field. It wasn't just like that one play. It was like every play. The offensive line was extremely aggressive. You look at it's 11 hats to the ball at all times. It's just running around like a bunch of madmen. Um, Guys that even on special teams, they were making plays there as well. We had the kick return, and Antonio Gibson also had a really long return. If I remember correctly, he got pushed out around like the
Yeah.
opposing 30 and 40, and that he got past the 50-yard line. So
Midfield.
yeah,
Yeah.
midfield, yeah. So I mean, you look at that, all phases of the game. This team was extremely aggressive, extremely physical. You had receivers down the field. Who's probably your smallest receiver, was down in the field blocking for. You can't like that's a culture thing. That's a coaching like point of listen. Everyone needs to go ahead and need to have at it. Everyone needs to go. They need to do this. That's what that like. Oh, the player just decided. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll block this time. No, that's a culture shift. And um, again with the offensive line, like you pointed out, Will Campbell, just going out there and just being so aggressive and just finishing that block. Anytime they were running, he was going up to the second level, which you love to see. And obviously they were playing against the seconds and the thirds, but the mentality is what is important
That's a
and
great
is
word for it.
you have to
Great
take
word.
out of
The
this.
mentality.
You can't, yeah, you can't just go. Oh, the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl because they scored. What was the final score? 48-18 against the Washington Commanders in the first preseason game, where uh, Daniels didn't. The Jaden Daniels single pass. He didn't suit up.
Terry
we're
McLaurin
not going
not
to
out
say
there.
that, but
Bobby
we're going to
Wagner not out there.
exactly. But
So,
you can look at the DNA and then the mentality just by how, again, just how physical, how dominant, how they were just going for the kill. They were at the other team's throat. That's what you need to.
well, I also compare it to what we saw with Gerard Mayo, which was a team that looked completely
Mhm.
out of their element. To start the preseason in the joint practices with the Eagles, that was preseason game number 2. I was actually at that game where you finally saw Drake May
Mhm.
get some more playing time because what did he have, like, what was it, 3 snaps, 6 snaps,
It was
something
one
like that,
drive.
one drive in
Yeah,
that
it was
first
literally one
preseason
drive.
game. So
Yeah.
I think what you see with Vrabel is what you expected and what you knew you were getting with not just Vrabel, but the entire coaching staff, which is a clear plan in place, a clear identity, a DNA. What was unknown was how much were guys going to buy into it. Now, small sample size. It's one game, first preseason game. It's at home. I'm sure guys were riding the emotions of again, the first game, against another opponent, where
Hmm.
you're practicing against each other for the entire summer, and now you get to go out there and hit someone else. I know they had the one joint practice. That again, I think the team as a whole looked good in it, and I think that when you walk away from the week, one joint practice, one game, the Patriots look like the more prepared team. And again, I
Hmm.
think a lot of this comes back to coaching and again, what Vrabel brings in and how it's taking an immediate grasp on the team, and they're buying into it too. Now, I will say this, Mitchell. I look at the other night, and there are standouts. We'll do stock up, stock down. Obviously, Travion Henderson starts that game off with a 100-yard kick return. He was good on 4 carries, 18 yards, I think it was, and including a very physical run where you saw him get up to that next level. The speed is there, the explosive nature that he offers this
Hmm.
offense is something they haven't had, and I think it looks like they've hit on a second round pick finally, an
Hmm.
offensive player with an explosive burst, a home run hitter, who's been compared to Jahmyr Gibbs. And you saw him in the pass game too. Again, catching the ball out in the flat, running through an arm tackle, lowering the shoulder to finish the run, which is a dynamic to this offense that we haven't seen in a while. I look at what you saw from Kyle Williams. Now, you could say 4 targets, no catches, but what I saw was a quarterback in Josh Dobbs, which is now continuing to be an issue for Josh Dobbs, of not being able to get a football to a wide open wide receiver. So I thought that Kyle Williams
Hmm.
had a great slant route down in the red zone where Dobbs had to put it on him quick. He wasn't able to do that. I also saw Kyle Williams beat uh, defensive backs twice off the line of scrimmage with just his speed. Now, everything with a grain of salt because they're playing against backups. But I'll say that for the offense as a whole, the first team offense, Mitchell, I still have a lot of the
Hmm.
same concerns that I have about this group prior to the start of the season, start of even camp, which is the offensive line. And I think what you saw, at least in the first game against Washington here, was a clear plan in place by the staff as a whole to focus on the run game, to kind of get that offensive line some run blocking plays where it's not as much in pass protection, and it's easier obviously to run block than it is to pass block. They worked a lot on the passing offense in the one joint practice that they have, and they were able to look pretty good in doing so against Washington. But it brings
Hmm.
me really to my whole walk away from the offensive standpoint is I don't feel any better about the offensive line as a whole, but I do think you're going to see coming out of that first game what the identity of this offense is going to be, which is ground and pound. It's going to be running the football because the running back group is the best positional group that this team has. With Ramondre Stevenson, who trimmed down some weight, with Travion Henderson, who is explosive both in the running game and in the passing game, with Antonio Gibson, who last year to me was the best back on the
Yep.
team that offers you
Agreed.
kind of a two-way option in the backfield. And I think that's the strength of the team, mixed with just, again, looking what you have on the offensive line. They start two rookies on the left side, and we'll get to that Drake May fumble here in a minute. But I think that, again, they're going to use this offense, I mean, this running game a lot in this offense early on. And you're going to be looking at really the best tool for a young offensive line that's still growing together and a quarterback that
Mhm.
has mediocre talent around him at the skill positions. It's going to be Josh McDaniels reverting back to the run game in 2018 all over again, at least to start the season. And that doesn't mean that they won't sling the football around. That doesn't mean that they're not going to open up that offense. But that is what they're going to lean on, especially early in the season.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at Rabel and his tenure in Tennessee, even though he had Ryan Tannehill, who was a veteran quarterback, someone who was in the league for a while, they still, I think there was only a handful of times where we saw him legitimately throw it over 30 some odd times. For the most part, he was throwing anywhere from 20 to under, like 20 to 30, not over 30. And we would see Derrick Henry with 20 something rushing attempts and the backup running back with about 10 rushing attempts. And somehow Jonnu Smith would get 2 rushing attempts. That's what we saw a lot of. Again, to credit your point about the ground and pound, I think we will see a lot of these sets where we'll see the 13 personnel, the 3. We will see maybe Jaheim Bell, who I think he's someone that's going to make this roster, and he's going to be a key contributor that will not show up on the stat sheet often, similar to James Devlin. Although he is listed as a tight end, I think he is going to play a similar role to Jonnu Smith in Tennessee with Rabel, where he can leak out of the backfield and have a catch, or he can just block for you. I haven't heard anything about Jaheim Bell running the ball like Jonnu Smith did. And when I went to training camp, that was something I was looking for. I wanted to see if I didn't see him run the ball. I just saw him strictly with the receiving group. But again, having a guy like that with the versatility to block as a fullback while also playing the tight end position is a good skill to have. And Vrabel, again, just he's always been about smash mouth football. We know this, we understand it. And you look at when he was with Brady, he was with Brady from '01 to 2008. And I would say, honestly, until 2006, '03, '04, '05, a majority of his time with Brady, what was it? It was smash mouth football. You have Antoine Smith, you had Corey Dillon. I'm trying to think of the other running back there who name eludes me right now. Isaac Redman. And those were the guys that Brable early in his career was around. And it wasn't until '06, '07, '08 that in '08 Brady was hurt, so that doesn't even count. But '06, '07, that's when Brady really, he can consistently throw it. Not that he didn't show that before, but that was really the time Belichick allowed for him to show that, yeah, he's a guy.
So
And
the only
he'll
thing
throw it
is,
on anybody.
I agree with that. And I think, again, winning low scoring games based off how the team is built right now is something they're going to need to be able to do. Okay. I mean, it is.
Hmm.
But this is 2025. They scored
Yes.
17 points on average last year. Oh, you agree with it?
Yep.
The year is correct that I gave you? The year was correct?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
No,
No, but
I'm acknowledging.
yeah, no, I get that. I'm just giving you a hard time. But again, they have to open things up a little bit more. And we reference the ground and pound. That's not to say that this team doesn't have to throw the football or that this team won't throw the football. Because I do think that I've been encouraged by the wide receivers to this point and what you've seen from them when you look at this group. Now, Diggs didn't play the other night. Booty, I don't have the stat sheet in front of me. But going back to just the reporting from camp and what I've heard, I think you have 5 locks in that wide receiver room. And I think that they could carry up to 7. But
Yep.
Mitchell, I'm encouraged by what I've seen from the wide receivers. When you look at what you've heard from Diggs and we've seen from Diggs in practice and the clips, I know you were down there at practice. You saw
Mhm.
him firsthand, the chemistry that he has with Drake May. I think that Demario Douglas could have a big season just based off of the slot position that he plays and Josh McDaniels' ability to utilize and maximize guys. in that role going back over the several years as the Patriots have been like a slot wide receiver, machine, if you will. And I think
Mhm.
that not Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, who had some up and downs last year, I think he's bought into the program, and he looks like he improved on his skills in the off season. And then you bring in Mac Hollins, and you hope that you get something with Kyle Williams. I do think the speed is real there, which is a dynamic this team desperately needs. Someone who can just stretch the field, if nothing less, to take the top off the defense. I think you have 5 locks
Mhm.
there, but I've also been encouraged by Efton Chisholm and Javon Baker,
Yep.
and those are two that I think could fight for a slot. So I walked away from Friday night. Javon Baker didn't have a catch. Well, you know what? He contributed in special teams, and he had a couple of tackles there. And he looks like, he's making the most of his opportunities. And Vrabel raved about that in the post game when he was asked about guys being able to do more than one thing when they're trying to make the football team. And he was very complimentary of Javon Baker, which again, we know the speed there and we know how this team has lacked
Mhm.
that in previous years, especially at that position. Mitchell, I do want to get to, before we get too far in this, Drake May, because how do we go this far without mentioning Drake May?
Yeah.
I thought the other night was, I would say, a very shaky start for Drake May, which doesn't take away my overall
Agreed.
feel about Drake May, the potential there, what he could do this season with what he has around him, the offensive line. But I look at that first drive, and he only played 14 snaps. I think they were focused on running the football, so I don't think the emphasis was really on the pass game that much. At least while Drake was in there, I think when Josh Dobbs was in there,
Mhm.
they started to throw it a little bit more. I think Josh Dobbs has looked horrible in this camp, but we'll save that for a different time. But Drake made that strip sack turnover. I mean, that is a rookie mistake from a second year player that has to be better than that. That was an egregious mistake.
Yep.
And when you look at what you're hoping to see from Drake May this year, stay healthy, show improvement, and continue to develop, that's something that he has to wipe out of his game. 16 turnovers last year, tied for the 4th most among quarterbacks in the NFL, and he only played 681 snaps. So this is where he has to learn from it. You
Mhm.
can't compound a bad play and bad protection and guys not getting over by making a risky hero ball type of play when at the end of the day, it's probably not going anywhere. So take the sack, take the negative play, and move on to live the next play instead of turning the ball over. Now, Washington, they took it over, they missed a field goal, whatever. I mean, they're playing backups. But if that's a regular
Mhm.
season game, you just cost your team points. So this is where I think it's a fine line for Drake May. But the coaching staff has been drilling into him all summer long. Protect yourself, protect the football. Josh McDaniels is a guy who has always emphasized taking the short completion, living to the next play, and Brady was the master of that. Drake has talked about how he watched all this film of Tom Brady. Now, Drake May, I'm not trying to handcuff him because I think part of what makes him special and the potential being where it is the fact that he is a dual threat. But
Mhm.
knowing the right times to pull the trigger on it and knowing to live to the next play and make the best decision possible is something that he has to learn. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. First preseason game of the year, first drive of the year, maybe some butterflies, maybe a little nerves, some excitement, trying to make a play in front of the home fans, and the whole vibe around the stadium was definitely back. Maybe it was the Brady aspect, the return now of Vrabel as the head coach, Drake May, expectations in his second year, it now being his team. So I'm not going to kill him for it, but it wasn't a good look. It wasn't encouraging to see him go out there and fumble, where you have two rookie offensive linemen who have issues picking up a simple twist, and Drake May's out there turning the football over.
Mhm.
And you also look at the hit. Like we talk about durability with Drake May. That hit didn't turn out to be an issue, but the way he went down, Mitchell, and the twist and the knee
Mhm.
and the ankle, Like, that's an issue. That's a problem waiting to happen.
Agreed. Agreed. And I actually have a photo here. And it was from that preseason game. Gonna add it to the screen here. And this is where everything. That's the fumble right here, and this is where everything is
You get
wrong.
turned ankles
Now,
on tackles just like that all the time in the NFL.
yep, and I'm gonna point out right now the way he's holding the ball. Now, the reason why he fumbled is because he got hit here. He's getting tackled,
And he tries to switch it into the other arm. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's also talk about this.
So
This makes it worse. Think about it from this perspective. They've been drilling into him all summer. Protect the football, protect yourself, right? There was a clear emphasis on running the football, right, and establishing the run. Drake May goes out there on his first drive and makes a play like this right here. You don't think the coaches were leaning into him prior to the game? Don't do stuff like this. Like, don't get hurt. Like,
yeah.
So that makes it worse.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm going to say from a technical standpoint, we heard about the footwork with AVP, with all the footwork stuff, which he did tighten that. He did tidy that stuff up. I'll give credit for that. Now, where I'm going to criticize is as a quarterback, they tell you, and he's wearing he has a double-digit number. When you're holding the football, you don't tuck it with your non-throwing hand, and then you don't do that. It's always two hands on the football unless if you're committing to the run. And you're supposed to keep it at your chest. So it should be in the middle. He should be holding it with two hands in the middle of the 1 and the 0. And they say if you're getting tackled from behind, make sure you get ready to go into a fetal position because most likely they're trying to strip sack you. And if you go into a fetal position, what's happening is they're knocking the ball out. It's going to hit your stomach and your thighs, and you're going to be able to fall on top of it. And if you're able to lay on top of it, it's going to be your ball because of possession, and they can't overturn it. If you're down on the ground with the ball in your hands and your knee is down, you have the ball. It's not going to be a turnover. And right here, he's playing with the ball in a very dangerous situation. Like you noted, he's trying to switch it so he can throw it. Well, you wouldn't have to switch it to throw if you just had both hands already on it, and then you could have flicked it towards the sideline. Or you could have gone ahead and tried to throw it up in the air out of the stadium. You could have done any of those things so then you could have lived to fight another play. But this is bad quarterback play. Again, up against your chest in the middle of the numbers, and if anything happening, you feel the pressure, throw it out of bounds. And he tried to do too much. And we saw that last year where he tried to do a little bit too much and it costed him. So I'm hoping that this is a moment that Josh is really going to drill into him about because this was just a real bad look.
So I'll say this too, playing devil's advocate on a positive note. I think that's a moment early in a preseason game. It's a turnover. Doesn't matter. The game doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Yep.
It is a play that he walked away from healthy, no injury.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And again, if you're going to make these mistakes and you're going to have turnovers, this is the time to do it. That's what we hear, right? It's training camp. It's now a preseason game. It's time to work on things. And that's what they're out there doing. So make the mistake now. Like, I'm not going to read too much into it. If he can, again, grow from this and it be a learning example for him, not that he should need it, by the way. I will say that too. Like, he shouldn't need it because I think it's been drilled into him all summer long. And as he went back and watched tape of himself from last year, I think you have to look at yourself and say, yeah, I can't be doing stuff like that. But if this can be a real learning experience for him, great. Mitchell, let's do some stock up, stock down. We haven't come up with a catchy name for it yet. But let's go through a couple of guys that stood out to us that
I just thought
okay, share it with the whole team. Share it with the whole squad.
We could do instead of ups and downs, we can call it the Rabels and the Mayos.
The Rabels and the Mayos.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's I actually like it. What to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
All right, Mitchell,
But
give
no,
me a guy that stood out to you from Friday night.
um, this is really just cherry picking. Efton Chisholm. He looked good. He led the team last night in receiving with a total of 6 catches for 50 yards, with the average being 8.3 yards per catch, one touchdown pass, or one receiving touchdown rather.
Yep.
And he got that at the end of the third, I believe, from Ben Wooldridge, the household name that he is. And he looked really good out there. There was a couple of plays. There was a screen pass on 1st and 20. I believe the Patriots got a holding call on the play prior. 1st and 20, and he got 8 first down. This guy is physical, great route runner. Not worried about what the defense is trying to do. Hit him. He's just going to put his head down and try to get yards for you. You've said it a bunch. He is a gamer.
Yeah.
100% is. He just wants to ball out, plays the game the right way, and he doesn't give up on a play. That play from Ben Wooldridge, the ball was tipped at the line, and he was kind of going a little bit upfield when he was running his route, but he was able to kind of turn his route a little bit more towards back towards the line of scrimmage and make that catch, dive into the or jump into the end zone, and great play all around. So I think, again, Cherry, I think he was the best looking player. Travion, he's a second round pick. I think if you're his first or second round pick, you kind of expect great things. I didn't expect the kick return, but overall, like some of the other runs that he had later on, I was like, yeah, that's how you're supposed to run if you're a second round pick and you have some of these cut that out of you. But Efton Chisholm, as an undrafted guy, to go ahead and lead the team in receiving and to have some of the plays that he had and some crucial plays that that touchdown was on a 4th down. So
No,
to me, I think he was the best.
I agree. I think there's been a lot of attention on Efton Chisholm, an undrafted guy, because he looked good in the
Mm-hmm.
spring, and then he kind of cooled off, and he gets in there in the
Yep.
second half, and he makes the most of his opportunity. Vrabel's talked about.
Yep.
Guys are going to earn themselves their opportunities by what they do on the field, their production. Efton Chisholm the other night, yes, it's against third and fourth stringers. Those are the guys that he was out there against, and he made the most of his opportunities. And Kendrick Bourne is not practicing this week, and we'll get
Mm-hmm.
to joints with the Vikings. You look at Jalen Polk, who left that game with an injury. Javon Baker, who was out there but
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a reception, was good in other aspects. Efton Chisholm is earning himself more and more reps with the first and second team. So, I mean, this is a guy that, again, I think fits Josh McDaniels' offense to a T. He feels like a Patriot, not
Yep.
because he's a small white slot guy, but just his style of play, Mitchell, that you
Yep.
outlined.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the fastest guy, good route runner, very physical, and he's a gamer. And I see some of the clips from practice. He goes up there and gets the ball. He high points it. So I think I agree
Mm-hmm.
completely. Efton Chisholm definitely up. I'm going to lump two guys in together, and really just as a secondary as a whole. DJ James, who had the interception,
Yep.
and Alex Austin. And
Yeah.
I put them both in as stock up. I include them together because they're both cornerbacks who are filling in for Christian Gonzalez in this game and Carlton Davis. And you look at the depth outside of those two stars, an All Pro and Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, a big free agent signing. And I say, what is your depth behind him? Now, I don't think Marcus Jones looked particularly good in this game. He got beat a few times. He also had some instances where his size has limitations to it. It's not his fault, nothing he can do about it, but guys are just bigger than him. But those outside guys and DJ James, who jumped a route where the wide receiver fell down, he still made the great read on the football. Alex Austin, who looked like he was going to be giving up a couple of receptions, fought through the end of the play, jarred the ball loose. I have both those guys as stock up. Mitchell, why don't we do one more? Who is another stock up guy for you?
Another guy that was for me, I gotta say, Land Larison.
Yeah,
Um,
your man, Land.
he had that. Yeah, the man
Yeah.
Lair run T. he was going to be first year, and then he's going to make the roster next year and make some plays. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. You heard it here first, folks. But 7 rushes for 35 yards, 5 yards a carry. He had the touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 9 yards. You heard it on the program. I don't know which McCourty twin had said it. I think it was Devin. And he said he looks a lot like Rex Burkhead, and he is even wearing the same number. Plays a very similar style. Lining him.
He gets hurt though, which. Yeah, listen, I made fun of you for Land Larson because I said, who?
Mm-hmm.
What? We're really talking about this guy? He looked good against backups.
Yep.
Again, grain of salt for everything. But he goes out. I think it is unfortunate because they are going to need a 4th back.
Yeah.
And I think that position is already pretty deep.
Yeah, but I think they have I'll say who I think is going to be the guy in a second, but the 4th. But for him, I think he was a guy out of UC Davis, not a well-known school, not really a school. You don't really hear people saying, yeah, they got that quarterback out of UC Davis. You don't hear anything like a player that went ahead and really played really well. Again, 35 yards, 2 catches. It's not often you can get a guy that can do that. And he just looked really good out there. He put his head down. He got into the end zone on that one play when it was a pitch to the outside. And I just think overall, Josh really likes those kind of positions. Burkhead, when the Patriots first signed him against the New Orleans Saints, they put him in the slot. He just out of there, catches it. It's a touchdown. And then the playoffs in 2018, he was really your lead back in that Kansas City Chiefs playoff game. He got the final touchdown, and he had a touchdown earlier in that game. Sony Michel would go on and get the ball and have 3 against the Jets. No, against the Chargers. But overall, the way that Burkhead played, I see a lot of that in Land Larson. And that's why I said I think he will. The Patriots are going to find a way to store him because I don't think
they wanted to store him at all. I think they would have liked to see him fight for more opportunities and ultimately make this roster as a 4th running back. So I don't think this is them stashing him. I think that's a serious foot injury from what I understand. All right, Mitch, let's do a couple of downs here just to wrap up this episode. Okay. We'll just rapid fire these. Okay. Josh Dobbs looked absolutely
terrible,
horrible, and I
got outplayed by Ben Woldridge.
He did, he really did, and again, I want the best guy out there in the best backup possible. I was not big on the Josh Dobbs signing. He made a good amount of money. I think he's going to be around. He adds the veteran element in the quarterback room. I get that. The mentoring of Drake May, I get that. But Dobbs does not look good. And he was 5 of 12 in this game. He missed wide open receivers. He looked, again, at times lost out there, which has kind of been throughout camp something that's popped up too much. And with Drake May's durability, I always look at the backup quarterback and evaluate them, especially against backups to backups, which was the case for him. Mm-hmm. Bad night for Jalen Polk, which just continued. Now he leaves that game with an injury. He can't stay healthy. We know how bad last year was with all the drops, a lot of talking, not a lot of action. He was a 2nd-round pick. To this point, it looks like a bust, which is why, going back to something you said earlier, you know what you get in Travion Henderson. With the Patriots drafting, I don't know what I get with any player coming out of the draft. So it was encouraging to see Travion Henderson really pop in my first opportunity to see him that was not in a short clip that I see on social media. Yep. Now, Polk has just been the complete opposite. And I think that the injury probably will give the Patriots the opportunity to stash him. He's not going to practice this week. He hasn't so far. Maybe they can put him, on IR and, again, a cheap, affordable deal and see if, again, with another off season, now it seems like after, another injury, I haven't heard of the severity of it, but it would be an opportunity for them not to just cut him and get nothing from it. So we'll see. And Anthony Jennings playing late
Yep.
into that second half. This is a guy
Yeah,
who's a good
I saw
football player. He
like
just
the end
doesn't
of the
fit the
third.
scheme for Vrabel. He's been running with the scout
Hmm.
team this week. And Kyle Duggar, it's going to be another interesting
Yep.
guy to watch. Made a lot of money with his extension last year, 4 years, $58 million. He has a good chunk of AAV, but he's been working with the second team. So with Craig Woodson and and what they have in Jalen
Jabril
Hawkins,
Peppers.
yeah, I think not a great initial start there for either one of those guys.
Yeah, for me, for my disappointed guys, I agree with you with Jalen Polk, and Josh Dobbs, and another person that I wanna throw out there. Um, if I can remember his name, uh, damn, we
Okay,
this guy is
yep.
he's second on the depth chart, and see they got him in
Unofficial
there.
depth chart.
Yeah, unofficial depth chart, but I mean, right now you have the depth chart. It's Kyle Duggar, which I think he's going to get traded or cut. I don't think he makes the final 53-man roster. Jabril Peppers, Jalen Hawkins, Marcus Epps, Del Pettis, Brendan Schooler, who's your special teamer, and Craig Woodson. So you really have six guys. I'm excluding Brendan Schooler again. He's your special team guy. He's not your
Who made a lot of
he's not
stupid
really a safety.
penalties last year. He committed a lot of stupid penalties last year. Brendan Schooler.
Yeah, he's a special team guy. Yeah, he's a special teams guy. They tried to like make it a big deal, like, oh, they're playing him more often. They're not just using him just on special teams. He can do more than that. You're a special
Yep.
teamer, buddy. Um, and Craig Woodson, I think he's going to be your free safety that lurks deep. Jabril Peppers, I think he's going to be your guy that lines up in the box. But you still are going to need your backup. I think Jalen Hawkins, he was someone that played special teams, but also played backup safety as well last year. I think he's going to make the roster, but you need one more. So Kyle Duggar, again, I think he's gone. Brendan Schooler, special teamer. So it's Del Pettis and Marcus Epps. And I think Marcus Epps had a chance to show, yeah, I can go ahead and contribute to this team, but he just did not look good out there. There's a couple of passes that happened in front of him. I felt like he was late on some of his assignments. Just didn't look good. Didn't look good to me. And now the question is, do you look to some of these other guys like you have Isaiah Bolden, DJ James, Jordan Polk, Brandon Crossley, Trey Avery, Miles Battle? Do you potentially move them safety position to have some depth there? Corners. What's the plan going forward? Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, those are your outside cornerbacks. You know that 100%. Unless if they go down with an injury, they should be there. Marcus Jones, he's your slot guy, and unless he gets hurt, then you have Alex Austin, who I think is great in the slot. Now you just have to figure out who else you're going to keep there at cornerback. Typically, teams carry anywhere from 5 to 6. Now, I think you keep Miles Battle. He's looked great. And I think you keep DJ James. He's also looked really good. But now, again, with the safety position, do you keep Isaiah Bolden? Do you keep Jordan Polk, Brandon Costley, Trey Avery? You have to figure it out. But
This
Marcus
is a
Epps, I think he had a chance to do something.
Yeah, this is a big week for those guys. Guys fighting to make this roster. You get,
Yep.
week 2 of the preseason, then week 3, which is where I really think all the shit gets sorted out in the bottom. Okay, that's
Mhm.
really what that final week of the preseason used to be for. Now, thankfully, it's 3. I wish it would just be 2, because I'm just too much preseason football for me. The excitement kind of dies
Yeah.
down after week 2. Okay. But that's where I think a lot of these guys are either going to make their spot or not. So we'll see. All right, we'll wrap this episode up of the show. Again, Sports Untapped. We appreciate the follow too. Engage with the program. We love that. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon at the bottom of the screen. Notifies you of new content. You can leave a comment and let us know what you want to hear. If there are any topics you want to hit on that we haven't discussed, or just suggestions, let us know. We're still working this out. It's still new to us, Mitchell. Although you're an experienced YouTuber,
Hmm.
I'm new to the whole YouTube
I
thing.
try to be.
But I like to listen
Hmm.
to the people. Whatever you guys like, we can touch on. All
Yeah.
right. that's going to do it here for us. Again, please, engage with the program. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave a comment. More sports untapped in another episode. Thank you.